Thank you, Yvonne. And thank you guys always for coming. It's always a honor when people show up to listen. And we are going to talk about like my favorite topic. And all this stuff that Yvonne is talking about is really a result of being highly productive, right? And how do you be highly productive? You manage your time well. You master your time. And so I actually have a whole pretty slide deck that I made for you guys, which you're not going to see because it's a fake TV. But because I was prepared for that, if you go and find me on Instagram, Kona Broker, and you message me the word mastermind, it's going to shoot you back the link to the slides. You can follow along on what I'm talking about. And then you have the slides. And then there's a couple of resources in there also. I'm going to talk about a spreadsheet and a time budget. There's a QR code that will go to a template that you can use. And it's actually a whole spreadsheet for business planning in general. So that's a whole separate topic, but there's budgets, production goals. There's a bunch of different tabs across the bottom. And one of them is the time budget. And that's what we'll talk about. So any issues finding me, Kona Broker, or you can just Dylan Nonaka. I'm the only one in the world. Actually, my son is the second one. So, but don't follow him. You can follow him too, DJ Nonaka. But he'll be stoked if you follow him too. We have some online folks that may be watching, so stand by. Nope, nobody. And this is an open link, so there shouldn't be any waiting room. They should just be able to join directly. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the first thing, the first slide on here, right, is do you guys know what the value of your time is? Has anybody calculated the value of your time? What are you worth an hour?
It was like $3.50.
$3.50 an hour, okay. Does anybody else know? Okay, so the cool thing about hourly rate is that it is super easy to calculate, okay? And it's basically $52 an hour for every $100,000 you want to make a year, okay? So just call it 50 bucks an hour. So if you make 50 bucks an hour, you make 100 grand. If you make 100 bucks an hour, you make 200 grand, right? 150 bucks is 300 grand. So if Yvonne's making $300 an hour, like, man, you can figure out what she's making, right? So, but I think that is like the first thing to really think about from one, knowing where you're at and where you want to be, and then always keeping that in mind when you make time decisions, right? Because if you understand that, if I'm worth 150 bucks an hour, is this thing that I'm spending time on worth 150 bucks an hour?
50 an hour for every 100K, you said?
Yep, 50 an hour. And that's if you're working a 40-hour work week like a normal individual, right? If you're a maniac and you want to work 60 or 80 hours a week, that's cool. And you can just multiply that up. But that's based on a 40-hour work week, 5 days a week. So, make sense? So first thing, figure out what your hourly rate is, and then that'll kind of help you in your decision making when you're making time decisions. All right. So the first principle about time management, and this is like my favorite principle. If you've ever been on a Zoom call with me, behind me on my background, it says discipline equals freedom, right? And I didn't make this up. This is Jocko Willink. He has a whole book about this called Extreme Ownership. But I think we're kind of raised in life to think like discipline is like a bad thing and it makes our lives rough, and we don't want to be disciplined. We want to have freedom, right? But the whole premise behind this concept is that the more discipline you have, the more freedom it creates in your life, right? And if you think about it, and this applies to really everything, right? Like if you're disciplined with your time during the day, you have more freedom on the weekends or when you want to take a vacation. If you're more disciplined in your health, like this is one of my favorite things. I like get at least 7 workouts in a week between different activities, but I eat whatever I want and I drink whatever I want, right? And that's like, the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have to do other things. I think about it in your relationships, right? If you are a disciplined spouse, you will have the freedom to have a very long-lasting, happy relationship, right? But it takes discipline to create that in life. If you're disciplined in your finances when you're young, you'll have more freedom in your older years because you'll have financial freedom. So thinking about discipline from a time standpoint is super, super important. And just in general, it applies to everything in life, right? Is the more discipline you have, the more freedom you will have in other areas. It's always a give and a take. So think about that when we kind of apply all of this stuff today, right? So the first step that we're going to talk about, you guys have this tool in the slide deck, is a time budget. When it comes to time management, a lot of times people talk about like time blocking and using a calendar, and I totally agree with using a calendar. But this is an exercise, I don't know if you, like, it seems like it's a new concept to most folks that I talk about this with, is have you ever created a time budget, like a financial budget? So not necessarily a plan or calendar, but like budget your time. And the first time I did this person thought I was insane, but I got called by the mayor's office years ago to like serve on some volunteer commission for the county, right? Like some like tax review commission or something like that. And it always feels good when you're asked by somebody like important to do something important, community service and stuff like that. And I was like, man, do that. And I was like, this is like in the throes of like building this team, and I was, doing 30, 40 deals a year, and like my kids were little, and like I had a lot of stuff going on. And they said, oh, don't worry, it's only like 4 hours a month. Like it's two-hour meetings a month is what the mayor's assistant told me and stuff. And I was like, do I really want to give up 2 hours a month for free to go get yelled at by people about their property taxes or whatever the commission was? And I went and did a budget. Like I sat down and I mapped out every single hour. Who knows how many hours you have in a month? This is another thing, right? You got to know. You have 720 hours in a month, okay? So if you start with a budget of 720 hours, what do you spend all of your time doing? And everything, you write it all down, right? So the first thing is sleep, right? How many hours of sleep do you want to get? Should you get a night or do you get a night? That varies amongst people. If you're my wife, it's 9 hours. If it's me, it's like 5.5, right? Like we have different needs in terms of sleep. So figure that out. How much time do you spend cooking and driving and like all of the things that you spend time doing throughout the day? And two things are going to happen with this is, one, you will find out that you are not as busy as you think you are because I don't know what you spend your time doing and you can't even account for it yourself, right? Or two, you legitimately are busy and you have to be more conscious and more intentional about what you spend your time doing, right? So it's a really good exercise, and there's a spreadsheet that all you got to do is put in, select is it per day, per week, or per month, and how many hours you do that thing, and the thing calculates out for you what your total time is. And then it makes you a nice and pretty pie graph that'll show you visually how much time you spend doing different things. And funny stuff will come out of this, right? And you got to be really honest about yourself with this. Like, well, I did this, the first time I did this for our team back home, like 2 days later, one of the agents calls me and she's like, oh my goodness, she's like, I did the time budget thing and I realized I spend 8 hours a month getting my lashes done. And she's like, that is insane. Like that's like a whole work day, right? Like, cause I've never got to my lashes done, but who's got, like, I guess that shit takes a while, right? Like, I mean, so,
if you want your hindsight, yes.
so, but I mean, if you think about it in that way, right? If you want to be a highly productive person and you're spending one entire work day in a chair getting your lashes worked on, like that's a costly thing to be doing in addition to the cost that it costs to do that, right? So, it's a really productive exercise to be really honest with yourself and how you spend your time. I can tell you, like, I do this yearly, and like I usually have like 30 hours a week that are unaccounted for. That's when like I'm watching Netflix with my kids, or like, I don't know, like, but like everything else, I mean, yard work, I mean, everything is accounted for in terms of how much time a week, a month, a day I want to spend on different things. And it just gives you better perspective on how you spend your time. And when you start with that, then you can start building a calendar and a schedule, right? Is start with a budget before, because a lot of times we just build our calendar and we don't really think about, is this the best use of my time? And then is everything in your calendar actually something that you have budgeted time for? Because if you don't, that's a good way to tell people nicely, like, I did my time budget. I don't have, and actually go back to my first story, right? I called the mayor's assistant back and I explained this to her. Like at that time, I accounted for 17 extra hours. And I'm like, I'm not willing to spend 4 out of my 17 free hours a month on this commission. Sorry, And she was like, what? Like, she thought I was insane, right? But because like nobody had ever given that objection before, right? Because most of us say like, oh, we're too busy or we don't have time. But we can't actually prove it, right? We can't actually give a numerical number behind it, right? So think about that. Is build your time budget. That's like step number one. And then some like questions to consider in this process, right? Is like a financial budget, does your time budget reflect your priorities? Like that's because realtors are terrible at this. Like they're like, oh, I want to produce at a high level. And then I'm like, hey, show me your time budget. Like how many hours do you actually work? And it's like, they work like 4 hours a day. And I'm like, your budget doesn't reflect your priorities, right? Like you're doing whatever else you're doing, or you're spending time working at a job that makes you $25 an hour when you want to be a $150 an hour realtor. Like you cannot do, it just doesn't work, right? It's never going to work out that way if you're spending your time over here when you want to achieve this. So you really got to think about that. Do you have enough time dedicated to your priorities? That's another one is, and this doesn't have to be work. some of you guys have issues at home, right? Like, or strained relationships with your kids or your mom and your dad or whatever that is. And like, those are things that we have to dedicate time towards if we're going to improve upon those things. And so think about that also is what are your external priorities outside of work? Because it's not all about work, right? If your family life is a mess, like your work life is going to be worse. So that's a big one is, do you spend enough time? Do you have quality time with your children and your spouse built into your calendar? I could tell you, I mean, it might be weird, but like my wife books time in my calendar to make sure that I'm not doing anything on date nights and other things where it's, if she has something important or the kids have something important, she has stuff booked out months and months and months in advance because so I don't come into Vegas on that weekend or whatever. Like the only way I know is that if it's in the calendar and I can see it. So super important to have all that stuff dedicated, right? The first thing you should do when you build out your yearly calendar is what?
Put all the important dates in.
Like what's important though?
Birthdays, anniversaries.
Family stuff, right? Family vacations. I mean, to me, that helps you build your why, right? If you know for the next 12 months, like we go to Tahoe almost every single winter, right? That is like a high priority thing for me and my kids to do because we love to snowboard. And like, but I know I got to create the income in order to make that a reality at the end of the year, right? Like it's part of my why is to make sure that that's, if it's in the calendar, it's planned upon, and I know I got to do it, it helps you build out all the rest of your priorities afterwards. So super important, right? Is all of that personal stuff comes first. And then as important as what you include is like what you don't you include. What can you cut out? Can you cut out doing your lashes? Or like what else do we do? Hey, that's a judgment call for you guys to make, right? And I'm gonna share you with you personal grooming hacks at the end, which you also think I'm insane, but I'll talk about that at the end.
Right there.
But what is it? You'll identify things in this analysis that you'll be like, man, why am I spending so much time doing that? And I think that'll be helpful in reallocating your time.
I'm cutting out my lashes now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. How much time do you think you do your hair in the morning, Steve? You know, that's kind of stuff that you gotta. So I have pictures of the time budget and like the spreadsheet. It's pretty straightforward. Bring up the spreadsheet on the slides. There's a QR code that you can scan, and then it's a whole entire spreadsheet with financial budgets and figuring out your production goals and all that stuff. So it's a tool that you can use. One of the tabs is a time budget. Okay, so once we figured out the time budget, the next step is to actually build our calendar. And this is something I'm very, very dedicated to, is like calendar. Like we gotta have a calendar, right? We gotta have a schedule. And I think that's something that agents are like good at sometimes and not good at sometimes. We talked last time about everyday tasks and today tasks. You guys remember the difference of those?
Yes.
Okay, what's a today task?
Coming to this thing.
Yes.
Buyer consultations.
Buyer consultations. What else?
Prospecting.
Huh?
Networking.
Yeah, like networking events. Yeah.
Prospecting.
No. Prospecting is an everyday task, right? So the difference is, what are the things that kind of pop up as a realtor that we have to do? Home inspection, show property. Those are today tasks that are going to happen today, but they're not going to necessarily happen exactly the same in the future, right? But a today task is stuff that's in your calendar, and not necessarily every day, but recurring on a regular basis, whether it's twice a week, once a week, twice a month. I mean, there's different tasks that we have to do to be successful as an agent that should be recurring. And those time blocks should be the most sacred, right? Those are the things, like if we don't prospect on a regular basis, we don't ever have today tasks to do, right? So a lot of, and the vast majority of agents struggle. To ask them, like, show me your calendar and where are your prospecting time blocks, and they just don't exist. I do it when I can. It's like, it's not how it works. Like, you're never gonna do it when you can. You have to be dedicated to it, and you have to be willing to tell other people no, because that is a priority. I'm gonna do that first before other stuff pops up and I do other things. So that's the first thing, is building recurring events in the calendar. Like for me, my calendar is full of recurring. There's actually a picture of my calendar this week in the presentation, so you guys can see how insane my schedule looks. But to me, that's not busy, that's like productive, right? Like I know exactly what I'm doing, my time is accounted for, there's no surprises, and if somebody wants to do something, that I now have to make a decision, right? When something's in your calendar, especially if it's a recurring event, and Ryan calls me and she wants to go to coffee, like I have to make a decision. Like, is this more important than what I have scheduled, or can you work around when I have time that outside of what's already scheduled? And it's a good process to have a function to make a decision. And I'm constantly making decisions about my time, right? It's like, okay, like a very high priority thing for me is talking to agents, right? If agents are interested in joining the brokerage or joining the team, and you call me and you have an agent that wants to join, I may not have time, but I will then decide, hey, do I have to be at this meeting, or can Monica cover it, or can my brother cover it, or can Kelly cover it? Because I want to make sure I can get out of that meeting in order to go and do this thing, which is a high priority event, right? So it's always an aspect of like, I need a process to make a decision versus like, sure, I'll do it whenever you want. And I may have told you this story before, you know, like our highest producing agent on the Big Island, I think she's closed like 70 deals this year already. She's 28 years old, and she like is the most time disciplined person I've ever met. And like, she does not show property outside of like 1 to 3 p.m. Like, if you are a client and want to see property outside of 1 to 3 p.m., she tells you no, or you can go find somebody else. And it seems scary to do that as an agent, but that's how you do 80 deals a year, is like you have that level of discipline where her mornings are dedicated to prospecting, follow-up, administrative management of her business. She shows property from 1 to 3, and then after that, she deals with her kids and her family and stuff. And it's like, it's possible, right? People will respect your time if you respect your time. And sometimes you got to go find somebody else, or have somebody, you know, on the team go show property for you or whatever. But that's a super, she's proven that this works at a super, super high level. And she's very disciplined. She has a very manageable life, doing an insane amount of business. So, all right. And the goal to all of this, one of my favorite concepts, is like, I aim to live a boring life. Like, I want my life to be super, super boring. And what I mean by boring is there's no chaos. Like, there's no surprises. Like, I know tomorrow or next week on Tuesday what I'm doing. I know in a month from now on Thursday what I'm doing. Very rarely does like my calendar get blown up. And stuff happens in life, but you can really minimize that if you're careful, right? And you're dedicated to it. So think about that. Like, if you are like, wake up every morning and you just hope the day is great and do whatever, like, you're probably not very productive and you're not going to be very successful, right? So think about boring, recurring life. And for me as a leader, it's made management of a lot of people really easy, because everybody kind of knows my schedule. Like, you know, if you need me at a certain time throughout the day, you probably know what I'm doing, because my calendar is very public, right? I mean, the standing meetings that we have is very public. People know that I go to jiu-jitsu at night and I'm not going to answer my phone from 6 to 8. I mean, there's like, people know what I do. And so they respect that, or they make sure that they get me before or after when I'm going to be available. And it makes your life way more manageable too, because now everybody around you understands that. So, super important, the boring life. No chaos and no reaction, all right? What's that?
Sign me up for that boring life.
It's great. I'm telling you, it's super, super good. It's super good. And you know what stresses me out, guys, coming here? Like, cause like, this is like not my normal routine. Like, at home, it's like, I know exactly what I'm doing hour by hour, 5 days a week. And in here, it's like, I mean, I never go out and hang out with my friend and eat breakfast like I did with Yvonne this morning. Like, I don't do that at home. You know what I mean? Like, I'm working. Like, so when I come here, then that makes me shift my mindset to, it's like, hey, I got to get up early and clear my inbox and take care of whatever I got to take care of during the day. Of course, Monica's back home covering stuff for me. Everybody knows I'm leaving. We've planned this months in advance. And then I know after all of this, I got to go back and I'm going to work a little bit in the afternoon to catch up and stuff. But those adjustments are like, you know, that's what stresses me out. It's like not being in my, like, my boring ass life that I have at home, right? So the next slide on here is what my calendar looks like. It's got like, it just shows you there's color coding and like different colors mean different things. Your calendar doesn't have to be that insane, but the point of it is like, there's like very little white space. And the concept is that the devil lives in the white space, right? The devil, if you have white space on your calendar, the devil will do bad things to you. So
Idle hands is the devil's play.
that's right. Yes. So think about that. You know, like when you look at your calendar, like when there's nothing planned, and it's not like every minute of every day is planned, because I use a Calendly also, which is a really great tool for showing your availability. So basically the way I try and build my day is from 8 to 12 is like standing meetings, stuff that I got to do, recurring stuff happens 8 to 12. And then from like 12 to 3 is like open for people to book meetings. So if you ever go on my calendar, it's hard for Hawaii time, yeah. So again, if you're up here and you got to do something, call me and we'll figure it out. You know, you don't have to like, if you look at my calendar and it's full, again, I'll prioritize, right? If you have something that we need to do, I'm gonna have to make a decision about moving something else around. But when you see things in the afternoons on my calendar, it's usually something that was booked either a week or two or a day or two before. But my Calendly link opens up and it only shows availability when there's white space. But that helps me kind of manage my day where I know I'm gonna do all my standing priorities in the morning, and then in the afternoons I'm gonna be doing agent meetings or whatever it is, coaching sessions. I mean, you know, whatever else that pops up throughout the day. So I can shift like. I try and take like a half an hour to drink a smoothie or something from like 12 to 12:30 and then keep going. But I also don't believe you have to work like 10 hours a day, right? Like I go to the office at 7 and I'm usually leave by 3 or 3:30 at the latest. So I don't like work an insane amount. But when I'm there, I don't screw around. Like I'm not on social media. I'm not like talking to people. Like I'm actually working. I think if you put in 6 solid hours of work a day, you can produce at a super, super high level. But you actually have to work those 6 hours. And another concept, right, is do you guys all have a start and an end time to your workday as an agent? This is a concept that most agents don't have, right? I work all night, I work all day. Like, and that's not a bad thing, but the problem with that is you also don't work whenever you want, right? So this is a lot of agents, right? They kind of do whatever in the morning, and they might work for a couple hours, and I'm gonna go to Costco and run some errands, and they work for a couple hours, and I go pick up my kids, and I'm gonna go work for a couple hours. Like it's like this thing where it's like, you know, like again, chaos, right? Like kind of back and forth versus the concept of like if you just put in 4 to 6 like really focused, solid hours of work, it's amazing how much more you can do versus start and stop and start and stop and start and stop, because our brains, like it takes time to get into a rhythm, right? And be focused in on what you're doing. And so think about that. Like you will be more productive working less, like net less hours. Like I'd rather see you work 6 hours straight than 8 hours in 3 different time blocks throughout the day. Does that make sense? So like a start time and an end time, and then try and build your life around that, right? To make sure your family knows like, hey, from 8 to 2, like I'm working, like I'm not gonna run errands and do other things and maybe find somebody else to pick up the kids or whatever it is, but have a very consistent focus. Like that's why I love, Yvonne was just asking like how the flight was yesterday, right? I love flying because Hawaiian has Starlink and it's like 6 hours of focused work. Like my phone doesn't ring, like nobody walks to my office, like I'm locked in a plane, right? Like it's really good. And I view that time, and this is kind of wasn't planned, but this is another concept to think about in your time is, do you have maker time in your calendar? Like this is something I explicitly put in my calendar is maker time is. So there's like 2 kinds of, so you can break all of your tasks, everyday tasks and today tasks, and then the other subcategories are management times and maker times, right? So like management time is like when you're working in your business, right? Doing the showings, doing the inspections, doing that kind of stuff. Maker time is when you're working on your business, building a system, practicing a script, creating an action plan in your CRM, like things that will return on investment many, many times over, and it's not just a one-time deal. And this is something a lot of agents fail to do, is do maker time. And I get the most satisfaction out of maker time because maker time affects many, many people, right? Like if I make a really solid product that lots of agents can use, like that 2 hours I spent on it gets me thousands of hours of work output via all of the agents that use it throughout the year. And like that makes me happy, right? That makes me excited. And so maker time is important. Maker time is making videos, right? Like making a video that people will watch for years and years and years to come on YouTube is like a 10-minute dedication of time that gets you back thousands of hours of time in the future through communications of people. So think about that too, is like, do you have maker, and I view the plane as maker time, right? In the plane, I'm like, I'm not reacting to stuff. I'm being proactive about stuff. And I was working on this deck. I was working on the deck for tomorrow, my deck for EXPCon, like things that I can use many times in the future for training and sharing resources and all the things that we're doing today, right? So maker time is important and being explicit about that. Like I like Friday afternoons for maker time because people don't bother me, right? Like, I don't know, agents don't work on Friday afternoon. That's just the thing I've learned over the years. Is like, if I'm in an office from like 12 to 3, 12 to 4 Friday afternoons, nobody's ever there. So it's a good time to be uninterrupted, or early mornings is good too, right? The earlier you start your morning, the less interruptions and chaos you have. So, any questions so far? I know we're like flying here. Yes.
Can you redefine like the everyday? Because I said prospecting and it was no, so it came as a surprise.
Oh no, prospecting is an everyday task. It's not a today task.
Up to date.
Yeah. So today task is the one-off thing that you have to schedule an appointment for, versus the everyday task is a thing that should be recurring every day in your calendar. So things like to me the ideal realtor calendar, right, is 1 hour every morning of, and I got all these categories, red time, right? Red time is admin time, like checking up on your escrows, responding to emails, checking in with, active transactions, things like that, like red time, like do your admin, upload the sky slope, whatever you got to do, right? And then you do like 3 hours of prospecting, like following up with old leads, touching new people. I mean, this could be sitting at an open house, right? But prospecting to get more business. And then in the afternoons, do 3 hours of field time, right? The field time of like doing showings, doing appointments, those types of things. And then after all that's done, right, if you do the math, that's 7 hours of time, then it's blue time, which is like your family time. You should have time dedicated in your calendars to be spending time with your family, be focused and not writing offers on the kitchen table and all that kind of stuff. But if you did everything else earlier, you should be able to do that in afternoons and the evenings, right? So red, so the color coding is red is admin time, green is field time, money making activities, right? And then blue is family time. So if you need a color code for that stuff.
Actually, I do have a question.
Yes.
So people here work crazy, weird stuff.
Yes.
Like just in general.
Yep.
Like a lot of my clients, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. because they're deployed or
Yep.
something to have to
Yep.
schedule that time. So my time is yo-yo.
Yep.
I don't mind them. But that's the one thing is like, how can I standardize my calendar when I actually close more deals or talk to more people between 6 to 9 p.m.?
Then shift your work day later if that works for your family and your life. I mean,
so I have some days where it's like super late, and then I have
Yep.
some days that are super early,
Yep.
and some days it's just like all
And-
around.
And I don't think any of this is a rule. I think you all have to adjust this to like what works for you personally. I mean, I can tell you this, like I have a very organized, and maybe I'm not a good example in my life today, but in the recent past, I mean, the early years of building a team, I'm selling 30 houses a year, plus I'm building all these systems and trying to support agents and do all this stuff. So my days very often were like a regular 8-hour workday, come home, spend time with my kids for 4 hours, and then like go back to work at 9 to midnight and then do maker time like later at night. So I think depending on the season of your life and where you're at, but what you don't want is you don't want to get to a point 10 years from now where nothing has ever changed and you're doing the same chaotic stuff, right? And then what can you do to build systems around, like early on in my career, I have 2 kids and like, here's another concept around time that our CEO talks about, which is powerful and it like might make you cry, right? Is have you ever calculated like how many days, weekends, moments you have left with the people you care about? Like think about like how many Christmases you have left with your mom or your dad, right? I think about like how many weekends I have left with my boys. Like they're like I got basically like less than 10 with my older son because he's gonna be going to college or whatever he's gonna do afterwards, right? And so that kind of prioritization helps you figure out like, what do I gotta do to protect that time? And I've decided years ago, like I just didn't wanna work on the weekends. Like no matter what I had to do, if I had to give deals away, I would do that in order to not work on the weekends because I wanna spend time with my kids. And so that's something you gotta think about, right? Is like, do you have other priorities via a time budget that you have to find a partner? And the great thing about real estate is plenty of people are willing to work on the weekends, right? Like, so just find a partner, find a friend and say, hey, Karen, anytime I have a weekend showing, will you take it? And she says yes. I said, I'll give you 50% of every deal that you show, right? And then like she'll never complain and she'll always be there for me. So that's just systems you got to kind of build in your mind mentally so you're not living the chaotic life. Because in the beginning, it's harder in the beginning for sure. It's always just having awareness and a plan to get away from that in the future. So does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what's on here, right? Is like the last principle on this slide is I have aim for a boring life, identify specific priorities, dedicate sacred time at work, practice delayed gratification, and then have a vision for the long term. The delayed gratification is another one, is dedicating time, and this is super hard for humans in general, and it's hard in real estate, is we don't get paid right away, right? And like that's like a thing. Like we have to dedicate a lot of time that we're not going to see any gratification or return to some imaginary time in the future that hopefully happens. But that's a huge part of like our time is like, am I willing to spend the time? And I'm like mentally ill around this sometimes. It's like I'm willing to spend a lot of time with no gratification, and some of the most profitable ventures I've been in have been the ones that like most people would have given up long before, any reasonable person would have given up long before they actually were profitable. So think about that. Is like, what is your time horizon for gratification? Or do you practice it? Like so this is an aside, but there's all kinds of little hacks you can do in life, right? So one of the hacks I do to practice delayed gratification, to train my mind, is I back into parking stalls, right? Because you do extra work up front for easier time to get out afterwards. I mean, it's stupid, right? But these are like the little hacks that you pick up along the way, where it's like if you do that, it just trains your brain. You think about delayed gratification every time you do it, and it's like a muscle, right? You work it all the time and you just get better at it. I don't know who said this, but I always quote it. I think it's an amazing way to think about life. And this is the concept of delayed gratification, is in order to change your life, you have to be willing to work a year or more and see no results, right? If you want to change many people's lives, you have to be willing to work 5 to 10 years without seeing any results. And if you want to change the world, you got to be willing to work your lifetime and never see any results, right? And if you think about the people that have changed the world, right? The Abraham Lincolns or Martin Luther Kings or like those types of people, like they never saw the results of the impact they were going to have on the world during their lifetime. And so it's a scary thought, right? It's almost depressing to think about, but it's like, it's true. I mean, if you think about the world and history, I mean, it's absolutely true.
St.
So
Peter's Basilica.
what's
I
that?
would think of like St. Peter's Basilica or like La Sagrada
The
Familia.
generations of people
It's like, I'm
to
gonna build this, but I ain't
never to
gonna
see it.
So
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a great example. Absolutely.
You guys, on that, it's a funny little thing. Is if you go to the Treasure Island, they have a display. It's a woolly mammoth tooth that was found in ancient China, and you can see the carving going through, and it's etched, detailed, like little war scenes, and it's like their history. And then in the next second, the style's a little different. The style's with generations. Great-grandchildren finished their great-grandfather's work because it took so much time. So this thing looks fake. It looks amazing, but you can see the styles because the person who started it, he got so far, their child or the next person picked it up.
Yeah.
So it does. Things take a long time.
It really is a wild.
Yeah. This is something that's definitely been lost in our culture today, right? This is a Hawaiian culture thing that's really cool. A cool Hawaiian culture concept is that before you make any decision, do you think about the impact 7 generations into the future, right? And that's like how the Hawaiians thought about stuff. Is like before they decide to build something or use land or use a resource or make some type of decision, like how is it going to impact 7 generations beyond me? And if you think about it in that big picture, it like changes. Like we definitely don't do that today, right? Like we just do whatever. We're so wasteful and so like, materialistic and like, it's a crazy concept. But yeah, that's huge. Is like, you'll never see the end of it. Okay, inputs equal outcomes. So this is a big one. Is like any system or process, like what you put in is what determines what comes out of it. And a lot of times somebody just asks me, right? What do you new agent? Right? What do you recommend a new agent does, right? And it's super simple to me. You just show up 8 hours a day and you work. Like, because if you don't put the work in, you never get better at it. You're never gonna have any outcomes. And a lot of times, new agents are looking for like some type of hack, like the right CRM or the right website or the right TikTok video or whatever it is. And it's like none of that stuff matters. Like if you just sheerly put in effort, you can do it wrong, and then you'll still be successful. And I see that all the time, even with successful like long-term agents. Like one of our most successful agents, she's been in business like 30 years. She doesn't do anything I tell her to do. She doesn't use our CRM. She doesn't use our scripts. She doesn't do anything I tell her to do. And she sells $30 million a year because she just works her ass off. Like I think she works too hard, right? I wouldn't want to have done that for 30 years, but can I fault her for it? Like there's results, right? Like so that's always the case is like, are you measuring inputs? Like if you want to get better at doing video, Ryan, right? Are you doing video once a week, at least once a week, and putting the time and effort into it? Like you don't get good at anything unless you put a lot of input into it. And the fool precedes the master, right? The people that the biggest determination of how successful you are is how long you're willing to look like an idiot doing that thing. Like, and we all have so much pride, and we don't want to look bad about, and we don't want to make a fool of ourselves. And I just love new agents, and this is one of our biggest concepts on our team is I have this big influx right now of like 20-year-olds coming in. I'm super like excited about this. I had these 2 boys that were 20 and 21 that were like struggling for 8 months, and somehow they got introduced to us. And did I tell you guys the story last time?
Yeah,
About 30 days?
open
Yeah. And they did 30 open 30. Yeah. So they just opened a $2 million escrow. So anyways, they're crushing right now, right? And so now they're like telling all their friends, right? They're like, you guys, this is where you need to be. And like, so like I had like 3 meetings this week with like 21-year-olds that want to get into real estate, right? But they don't know anything. Like they don't know any better. And a good thing is like they seem way more humble than like the 30-year-old or 40-year-old real estate agent who like doesn't want to look like an idiot. And they are completely willing to look like fools. Like they will call anybody, they will like say anything. And sometimes I'm like, okay, you guys gotta stop saying that because that's wrong. Like, but I love it. Like, I'm like, you guys are gonna absolutely crush because they have zero shame to look like an idiot, And so, and they will stop looking like an idiot very soon, right? And that's the thing is like the more times it happens, the faster you stop making a fool of yourself, and then you're gonna be okay. So that's a big one is just sheer what you lack in skill can be overcome by effort. And so if you're not good at something, just continue to work at it and you're gonna get better. All right, one of the things on the spreadsheet that you got is I call it the 6-figure action tracker. It's one of the tabs at the bottom. And this is also a measure, if you want to be really disciplined about this, is are you measuring on a daily basis what your inputs were, right? Like how many phone calls did you make? This is why I love FUB, because it does it for you, right? How many phone calls, text messages, emails did you send? How many appointments did that result in? And then you can go back and look at like, okay, if my numbers are low, was it because I didn't put enough time in? And then you can make those correlations and then do an analysis on your effort. So tracking is super important. It's crazy right now. We're going to the end of the year, and we're actually gonna mirror. So our team compensation structure in Hawaii is different than it is here, but I'm gonna make the Hawaii one the same as it is here because I think it makes more sense after doing some analysis. And so we've announced that, and agents are coming to me asking questions about like how it affects their business, right? And I'm like, how come you don't know? Like they don't know how many deals they did. They don't know how much volume they did. They don't know what kind of splits they paid. And I'm like, you gotta be measuring this stuff. Like if you take your business seriously, like you shouldn't have to ask me. Like I've always been crazy about that. Like I know from year one, like how many deals I did and what my volume was and where the lead came from and what part of the island it was. I've been telling this story lately to new agents that, want to get into luxury, right? Everybody who wants to be a luxury real estate agent, right? Who wants to be luxury, right? I said this last time, right? What's the number one way to be a luxury real estate agent? Start selling trailers. Like sell 100 trailer homes. Like, and then at some point, like I did 62 deals before I ever closed $1 million transaction. Like, and like it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like it's just a matter of you got to put a lot of time and effort in, and it'll happen over time. But do you know what that analysis is? And then at the end of the year, you can look at, even if you do 5 deals, however many deals you do, like, do you know exactly where that deal came from? Like, I surgically figured out, was that my friend from church? Was that a Zillow lead? Was that an open house lead? Because a lot of times agents I got to do video and get more leads, right? And I'm like, hey, let's look at your business last year, right? And 80% of your business came from your friends from church. I'm like, I would just spend more time at church. Like, never mind doing videos. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, but we overthink stuff, right? Like and so, I mean, I know how many leads we get from video, and that's why I put a lot of time and effort into it. I also know there's lots of stuff that we've tried over the years that doesn't work, and we stopped doing that thing because I'm just not going to continue to throw money at it and throw time and effort at it if it doesn't work. So measure your time and then measure your outputs and then see if they line up and they're making sense, because that's a big piece that gets missed a lot of times. We'd rather do what we want to do than what it's actually working. So, okay, we're getting to the end here. Okay, so this is the crazy stuff that everybody teases me for, right? So these are time hacks, right? And these are like my personal time hack examples to maximize my time. Yes.
Do you do night displays?
What's that?
When you're in the military and you gotta put your uniform and everything up the night before.
Oh, we used to call it shoot, what was it called? We had to put it on our beds, like our racks.
I still do mine.
Yeah. No, I don't do that. Okay, so here's some stupid examples, right? Wardrobe. I have 5 shirts that say EXP on them that are like 5 different colors, and that's what I wear every single day. I wear that and black shorts every day to work. Like I never think about what I'm gonna wear. I wake up in the morning, I put on black shorts, and I go in my closet, and whatever's the next one, I put it on, and then I have Nikes that match. So I go downstairs and I grab whatever Jordans match my clothes that day is what I wear. So there's no thought and effort that goes into wardrobe every single day, and it saves me a lot of time. My haircut. I've been shaving my head since I was like 15 years old. I've never spent time drying my hair, doing my hair, or anything like that. Calculate how much time that saves you throughout the year. See me and Ryan, we're good to go on this, right? So, books. I haven't read a book in years, but I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. I listen to books, right? So I don't spend any downtime not listening to a book. Like I probably consume like 2 to 3 books a month, and like I don't learn all the stuff I talk to you guys about. I don't make this stuff up. Not that smart. It's all ripped off from somebody that's smart, right? So, but I consume a ton of information. So whether I'm driving, I'm exercising, if I'm just sitting at the airport, like I'm always trying to listen to something and consume information. So you can consume a lot of information that way. Exercise. I've like done research on like what is the most effective, efficient amount. Like I like to like exercise for, I don't want to go to the gym for 2 hours. I go to the gym for like 30 minutes at my house. I built a gym in my house, so I don't even have to drive anywhere. But like exercise is important, so I do it as efficiently as I possibly can and easy and then remove all the barriers to making it hard, right? Getting your car, driving somewhere, having to figure out an outfit, like, all that kind of stuff. Like it's crazy. So driving, this is a huge hack. Buy a Tesla. Like I hardly ever drive. Like I put it on autopilot and I can respond to emails, I can do social media, like I can listen to a book, like I can make phone calls. Like I think that's a huge time hack, is not having to focus on driving anymore. And that's going to be a thing that's actually accessible to all of us here in the near future. But a Tesla's not expensive, you guys. Like this, I'm always, I should get a commission. I've sold so many Teslas over my lifetime. I don't get a commission from Elon, but what's that? There is a referral program. We don't have supercharging in Hawaii, so it doesn't even matter. Like that's the only credit you get. Actually, I think it's $1,000 right now. I think it's $1,000 right now, right, or something. Yeah, they're like home builders. Like they're kind of struggling right now to sell their product, right? So there's more incentives.
There's no
But
superchargers in Hawaii?
not anywhere that I'm aware of. I think there might be one out in the resorts or something, but. Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, you don't want to go to the resort and just wait half an hour.
I have a charger in my house, so it's not an issue. But yeah, so those are like, think about like, are there things in your life you can do that are more efficient than what you're doing now to remove? Because there's so many little things. If you spend 10 minutes a day and you calculate what that time across the year is, it's humongous, right? So what can we do to save time and be more efficient?
Shave your head and buy sneakers, guys.
There you go. That's what everybody says. Like, yeah. If I need more time, I just shave my head. That's everybody's joke at home. So. Okay, so and then so this is another hack that I use that's insane, is personal consequences. So I create punishments upon myself if I don't do the things that I plan to do, right? So in the mornings, I have all of my admin stuff planned out in the mornings, and I normally, if I'm not hanging out with Yvonne, I don't eat breakfast, right? So I like intermittent fast. That's part of my health routine. And so I usually don't eat till noon. So my personal consequences, if I don't get all my priorities done in the morning that I know need to get done, I don't eat. Like I keep working until they get done. And that way I'm thinking at 10:30, I'm already hungry. And if I want to procrastinate or I want to do something else and not spend my time wisely, I'm going to have to be hungry at 12. So it's just like a mental exercise. It rarely ever happens that I got to work past 12, but it's a personal consequence that I will hold myself to, is if I know there's things that must happen in the morning, I will get them done before I eat. So personal consequence. The other one is no weekend until everything's done. So I like to leave earlier on Friday afternoons, get the weekend started early. But if there's priorities that got to get done that week, I don't leave on Fridays. And a simple one is, I might have shared this before, but like people ask me, how do you be consistent with video? Is I don't, and I told Ryan this earlier, is on Sunday, or on Saturday, I realized that I only had 2 more videos in the queue, and I was gonna come here and go to EXPCon. There's all this stuff coming up, and I'm like, shit, I should have like 5 in the queue to not miss a week. So I went to the office on Sunday morning and I did videos because I had to get 3 or 4 more in the queue in order to cover me for the next couple weeks. But personal consequence, right? Like I'm gonna give up my weekend to do the thing that I said I was gonna do in order to to have the output that I wanted to have. And so normally it's Friday afternoons. Like I want to leave early on Friday. If by the third Friday of the month, all of the videos for the next month aren't done, I don't leave. And I just stay in the office because it's quiet and nobody's there. And I'll work until everything's done. And that way I'm always a month ahead. And that's how for 8 years, there's been one YouTube video every year for 8 years. Is there's just a consequence to not getting it done, right? It's not like, oh, I'm just busy today, I can't do it. It's planned out weeks in advance. So think about that. It's like, I don't know if that's insane, but like think about, are there personal consequences that you can implement in your world, right? That will help you make sure that you honor the time that you had dedicated to doing an important task. And then the last thing on here, and people hate this, but it's like wake up early. Like if you don't, if you feel like, and super important with your personal time is, I believe we all need personal time, right? Whether it's prayer, meditation, whatever you do that brings you personal peace, like you should have that time. And most people sacrifice that for everybody else, right? And then that brings them unhappiness and stress and stuff. And the easiest way to protect that is in the early mornings. Nobody's gonna mess with you from 5 to 7 a.m., right? Or even earlier. And so as long as I can remember, like I get up at 5:45 every morning. From 5 to 6:30 is like my time. I exercise, I do whatever I wanna do that nobody can touch that time. And then at 6:30, my kids get up and I eat breakfast with them and I have that time to start my day with them. But that's just the only way. And I'm a firm believer that nothing productive happens from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., right? All of you, some people are.
10 to 11 when it's hard.
I made some money last night at 10 p.m. But nothing really productive like from this standpoint, right? So I would rather trade because everybody's like, how do you wake up so early? I'm like, just go to sleep earlier. Like it's not rocket science, right? You just sleep. But you gotta, like, if you force yourself to wake up early, you will get tired earlier and you just start to go to sleep earlier. Yeah. So it's an easy function in life is just, go to sleep by 10 p.m. and get up earlier and get things done early in the morning, and it's way more productive. Some people aren't morning people. I got it, but again, like anything else, if you do it for 30 days straight, it becomes easy. Like now it's annoying because even if I want to sleep beyond 5 a.m., I cannot. Like I still wake up in the morning and like my body is just ready to go because that's what it's been trained to do over and over and over again. So, okay, just a couple other philosophical things. Everything's hard before it's easy. Choose your heart. I'm always, it's hard to work hard and be dedicated and be disciplined to make a lot of money, and it's also hard to be poor. I'm gonna choose making lots of money every day, right? So I choose my heart every single day. So it's hard to be disciplined about exercise and your personal fitness, but it's also hard to be 60 years old and dying, right? Like and not having those years with your kids going forward. So you gotta choose your heart at some point. You're gonna have a choice and to make a decision. A sports coach told me this when I was a kid, and it like always stuck with me: is to get what you've never had and let's do what you've never done. Mm-hmm. And I was just pounding one of our senior agents in Hawaii about this. She was telling me that we need to start a training program for seasoned agents, right? For experienced agents. And I'm like, why? And she's like, because they need to learn how to grow and do more business. I'm like, okay, so I said, let me challenge you on this and tell me if I'm wrong. Most seasoned agents don't grow because they do the same thing that got them to success 10 years ago, and they've never seen any level of success beyond what they got to 10 years ago. And hey, maybe 8-10 million a year and they've had a good life. But if you want to get to 20, you got to do some shit that you ain't never done before. And that's not a new training program. That's doing what we do today on a daily basis for everybody else. And I showed her a screenshot. This is cool. I'm super proud of this. In Hawaii, 8 of our top 10 agents have been in the business less than 3 years, like on the team. Like they're all selling like 20, 30 properties a year. The 2 that are in that group and number 1 is Justice. They both have about 5 years in the business. So it's like they're not like seasoned agents, but what do they all do? They all run the play. Like they're just being a 2025 real estate agent, and they're not being a 1995 real estate agent. And so to me, there's nothing different that we have to train a seasoned agent on versus a new agent. It's just the new agents don't know anything else, and they just follow the program, and then they succeed at a high level. Where the experienced agents just do whatever they join the team and they're cool and everything's good, but they don't embrace the CRM, they don't embrace the scripts, they don't embrace the strategies and listing presentation and all the stuff that we're training on and we're doing now that I know works in today's market. They just do what they've always done, so they get what they've always had, right? So think about that. You gotta do something you've never done before. And then I have this in my house, in my home gym, and so you can't deposit excuses. So you can't take excuses to the bank. All right. Okay. Okay, that's pretty much it. You guys got the slides already. Yeah, that's it. So any questions? We got a lot.
What's the thing that we needed, the word or whatever? Mastermind?
Oh, that DM me the word mastermind, and then they'll shoot you back a link with the slides.
The Wi-Fi.
Systems and time hack, you guys, right? ManyChat, I pay like, I don't know, $10 a month or whatever, but anytime I do this and people are like, send me the slides, I would have to go home and send 25 of you guys the slides versus you just DM me a word and it shoots it back to you automatically. So that took me 30 seconds to set up yesterday, and it's good to go. But
They do have a free version.
What is it, huh?
ManyChat. So you can do a bunch of things with ManyChat, right? It's basically an automation with social media. So you connect your Instagram account to it, and like if you DM me the word meeting, it'll send you back my booking link, and you can book a meeting. And then again, we don't have to negotiate a time. You don't have to email me. You don't have to call me. It all happens automatically. So there's things like that through technology. I mean, we live in the greatest era, you guys, of like. Oh, I mean, with AI and everything else, it gets so easy to be super highly productive. So.
Yeah, if you guys are using Bolt Trail at all, you get the smart number, you can do smart words and all that stuff too. Where you can text me the word value, and it sends you my link with the home value and all that stuff.
Yeah.
$30 a month. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep.
So what would you recommend to an agent who has like a very messy CRM? Like, how would you
What do you mean by messy?
organize it? Like, not putting the leaves in any bucket. So it's like, if I showed you my CRM,
Organize it.
it would just be like, it would say like, so I have like 300 people in my CRM right now.
Girl, I have an answer for you.
No, I didn't say
They're still.
No, I didn't say.
They're still looking at
But
it.
it's like, how would you organize it quickly to start to be able to like recognize like, okay, who is the A's who's ready to go now,
Yep, yep.
who's the 3 to 6 months, and so on.
I don't think there's a quick way to do it.
You got one time.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just Jenny's dealing with that right now.
Okay.
Couple of different things. One is be okay with starting fresh today and moving forward and not being stressed out about the mess of the past.
Yeah.
So that's one concept I think is like make the decision and come up with a system and be like, yeah, from this day forward, every time somebody goes to my CRM, they're going to be properly tagged, they're going to be properly categorized by stage or whatever it is, and then focus on the future, and then build in time into your calendar, 1 hour, twice a week or whatever, and just call through all of the old ones and then update them and fix them. And so it takes time, but it's just like one by one by one. I mean, Jenny and Kelly back home, like they're just basically, I mean, Kelly's going through tens of thousands of leads right now with her VAs and updating them, because when we did the CRM switch, like everybody lost their property alerts, right? We went from Bold Trail to my local. So that's a whole other aspect. But the concept behind all of that is you cannot let the pain of change stop you from what you know has to happen in the future for you to grow. Like I painfully was like a dedicated KV Core user and like the biggest champion of KV Core, and it got to the point where it caused me enough pain where I just felt like we're not going to continue to grow and get better if we stay here, and we're going to have to go through the pain of change in order to get to the next level. And that's a lot of times, this happens with agents all the time. I don't want to leave my brokerage because I have like 2 listings and a yard sign that I don't want to change, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, but come on, you guys. So,
Hi.
Wow, in the house.
Right.
Yeah, so like agents will not want to go through the pain of changing the yard sign and switching 2 listings for the potential to make 10 times more income in the future. It's insane, right? But it's like, so it can be painful, but yeah, CRM is hard.
What you're saying is sometimes you have to take a step back before you can go on the phone.
Absolutely.
That's the easy way to put it.
Yeah.
Wow, the Q&A was really good.
And or the other thing is hire somebody.
Like that's why I have Kelly. It's because like I was pretty good at database, but when it got to the point where I couldn't manage it anymore, like I needed somebody, and it's a who not a how. So instead of how do I do this, it's just who can I get to do it? And that was a game changer for us. And like I don't know if I told you this story. She was like a bartender at the airport from Ohio. Like she wasn't any like database real estate guru, and she wanted to learn real estate, and luckily she had a talent for it. And I asked her, and she said yes, and she learned everything there was to know. And now she runs this humongous operation and she's probably, I would say, one of the top 10 power users of available in the country. I mean, I put up against anybody in her knowledge of the system. So it's a sometimes it's a out. So yes.
For leads, like, okay, so you guys, they say usually like 966 rule, but like if you have them in their CRM and you've been trying to follow up, no answer, you have them on a drip, like no response, do you keep them on there or do you like put them back in the palm?
So our philosophy with that, right, is we have like the 14-day touch plan, and if we don't figure out what they're doing, and then so from that initial 14 days, if we make contact with them, then we put them into a nurture category, right? So two things happen. If you make initial contact, they're either gonna become a client, right, into some type of active stage where we're gonna get a buyer's report inside our initial properties. If that doesn't happen, then they go into a nurture stage. So you're either nurture 0 to 3, nurture 0 to 6, nurture 6 to 12, or nurture 12 plus. And then based on that status, then there's a cadence that you're reminded to call them. So if they're 0 to 6, it's once every 14 days. If it's 6 to 12, it's once every 28 days. And then if it's 12 to 12 plus, it's once every 90 days. And so that's like the agent responsibility. In the meantime, we send them a video every week from me about real estate, and so the whole database gets touched once a week, no matter what, forever. So if we get your email address, we're gonna send you a video every single week for forever, and that long term converts more people than anything else because they'll be in our CRM for 3 years, never respond, never answer the phone, and then one day says, "Hey, I'm coming to the Big Island in November, and I want to see property," and then we're like, "Okay," and then we show property to buy something. So that's, I think, the biggest thing is that what are you doing long term to touch them every single week and stay in front of them. So that's a big one. That's another reason why I do videos, because I understand that like that is more valuable than newsletter. Like like there's a lot of like kind of easy stuff you can do to send emails out, but people will watch videos and then they'll build a relationship with you. And sometimes, and this is a cool thing too, right? Is we'll look back when. Because we can see in the CRM like their open rate history. So you'll see like 2 years never open an email, and then 6 months open, and then they call on the 6th month. So it's like the email did the work for you, but it's like you can't get discouraged by not opening the email because they just weren't ready, right? I mean, they're 3 years out or whatever. So that happens a lot of times. It's like somebody ignores us for years, and then all of a sudden they open 12 emails in a row and we call you on the 13th one. So
how you following up with like past clients, because you always get those clients that you've closed to deal with. Yeah, but what ended up happening is they end up going a family member, a friend, and so that just got the license and sells their property with them.
Yep.
What's your follow-up strategy?
So
with that?
the same thing, right? If past client or whatever is always in that CRM forever, always getting the emails forever. That's a top of mind. So our ideal system, which I hope agents execute on, is what's built in is the day you mark a client is closed in the CRM, 30 days later you'll get a reminder to call them and check in.
Yep.
And then once every 90 days beyond that, you'll get a reminder to call them. And then once every year, 7 days before their year is up, you get a reminder. And we recommend that they send them something, right? Give them a gift, drop by, pop by, do something, but you just gotta stay top of mind. That's the thing is, and most agents suck at that. And I can tell you, I'm very guilty of not being good at past client nurture, but that's our system for it that we just gotta execute on. We're not gonna do it for them, right? So yeah.
Okay. Do you get clients' birthdays or anything like that to follow up?
We do. If you put them in the CRM, you will be reminded of a week before the birthday. So that does happen too. We don't always get client birthdays, but that's what your vendor is for.
That's what I was gonna say. We do the anniversary of their close date and their birthday.
Right.
And sometimes if you talk, because I talk people, in thorough a little bit, now find out they have kids or whatever, and note their kid's birthday too.
Right.
You know, just
But it's kind of
but yeah, I get more deeper with their.
it's weird for us to ask for their birthday.
Yeah.
It's not a thing, but the vendors have to ask for it.
Yeah.
So as long as you're quoting with the
When you
vendor,
said
the vendor should
you
know
want,
you.
so they tell you.
Are you a Scorpio?
Yeah.
And
No, seriously. I have a question about that. Because
What?
there are some
When you have
folks who
clients,
have-
ask me, and I'll tell you your birthday.
That's actually a good point. There has been agents who, during their buyer's consultation or at some point, they have their clients fill out like a demographic document that
Yeah.
tells us all about them, and then we use that to build our
Yes.
nurture campaign.
Yep.
But I mean, I haven't done that yet. I'm just curious. Does anyone in here do that? Do you have a form where you have your clients fill it out and learn all about them so that instead of your nurture campaign, that would be very tailored to them?
Yeah, so we call it buyer intake form.
Yeah.
So it's like you can build it as detailed as you want, but you can set it up, and this is a cool thing about FUM, like you can set it up in Google Forms, and then it'll just feed right into FUM, and then it'll fill all that information in for you, so you don't have to input it. But definitely, yeah, there's lots of agents that do it. It's all the demographic information and pet names, and you
Like,
can get it as
exactly.
detailed as you want. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You do that?
Put that in the group chat. No, tomorrow we're having a how to.
Oh, yeah.
So we could go through that
Yeah,
tomorrow.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I need that.
You know, on the buyer presentation too, you can get that info
Yes.
herself.
Yeah, and I have with some folks, I feel like it's something about having that system in place to make sure that people don't get mixed.
Yeah.
Because the conversation is kind of different with some of my clients, and maybe that's a part of the problem that they're.
Yeah, if you already have it on your
Yeah.
buyer presentation.
Okay.
You guys this is awesome. I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
We're going over time.
Close.
So just want to say, tomorrow, Dylan's training at WFG National Title. Anybody who wants to learn is more than welcome to come. It's no cost. If you guys want to pay me, I'll take any money.
Right, no, seriously.
So if you guys are not getting the DMs, just message me. I'll make sure that you guys are invited. I think we have 20 seats. Yeah, we have 20 seats, but they literally just revamped the entire office so we'll have space because it was only 15 and I told them we need 20. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Who is pumped right now? Woo! We need a photo?
No, get it.